What's up, folks? We're back for another episode of Ad Free Radio. I'm here with my boy Pussy.
Hey everybody, happy holidays. Hope that you all had a good time. Happy New Year, Merry New Year, whatever.
It's January, I have to look at the calendar. 15th?
I think it's the 21st.
20th.
Right now?
It's the 20th. It's about in 15 minutes. It's about to be the 21st. Didn't you think it's a little bit late to be saying happy holidays?
Yeah, especially considering people aren't going to hear this until like July 2019.
Exactly.
But I like to date it. We have to date it actually because we have a I guess, would you call this a special episode? I don't know.
I don't care. Whatever. Call it whatever the fuck you want. I don't give a shit.
It's episode 8. We can agree on that.
Yeah. Actually, episode 9 was recorded before this one. But because of this, we're going to talk about the Gillette commercial here.
What's the name of it?
It's called Fuck You, Pussy. It's called Fuck You, Pussy.
Bring up the YouTubes.
It's called Fuck You, Pussy.
That's not nice.
That's the name. Well, take it up with Gillette?
I got to take it up with... I would have to take it up with your father. Because this is about toxic masculinity. So all of this must be instilled because of your dad. Gillette
commercial. It's called We Believe...
We believe,
the best men can be.
Oh.
So we're doing it because, the commercial, it's like relevant right now and everybody wants to fucking cares about it and wants to see content about it. We just saw some douchebag some video came up in the recommended.
We watched.
And this guy looked like a fucking dirtbag. He looked like he'd never used a razor in his life.
He had like 15 million views happening.
It had like an absurd amount of views. He was like, I don't think this shit is right, tell you what. And it was like...
To be fair, we didn't listen to any of the substance of what he was saying, but he looked
like... They didn't have to, honestly.
But it looked like he didn't know what he was talking about. But then again, if people who look at us, I'm sure they think the same exact fucking thing.
And are they wrong?
No.
They're not wrong. In any case, we wanted to do this like now. Same thing like we did with Nike. While it's still relevant, people actually care. Maybe we'll actually get people to watch the fucking video this time. Whatever. Here it is. Let's play it. We believe the best men can be. Please enjoy, or at least try to. Roll it!
Bullying.
The Me Too movement against sexual harassment.
Masculinity.
Is this the best a man can get? Is it? We can't hide from it.
Sexual harassment is taking over.
It's been going on far too long. We can't laugh it off.
Who's the daddy?
What I actually think she's trying to say.
Making the same old excuses.
Boys will be boys.
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
But something finally changed.
Allegations regarding sexual assault and sexual harassment.
But she says
And there will be no going back. Because we believe in the best in men.
Men need to hold other men accountable.
Smile, sweetie. Come on.
To say the right thing. To act the right way.
Bro, not cool.
Some already are. In ways big
Yo, men.
and small.
I am strong.
But some is not enough.
It's not how we treat each other, okay? Okay.
Because the boys watching today will be the men of tomorrow.
And we're back. There it is, the commercial that's causing everybody to flip the fuck out, just like the Nike commercial.
So what are people
I said it on Twitter.
do?
I said it on Twitter. I don't think there's a point for us to even do this. I'm like half checked out for this because they know what we're going to say. It's almost like, why bother? Why fucking bother even do this? It's the same shit. It's just the fuck same shit over and over again. I'm fucking sick of it. But you know what? I mean, it's like Pussy said, I believe, in the beginning of the Nike episode. He said, if we're not going to fucking do these episodes about these commercials that are like fucking, taking over
million
social
views
media
right now.
This one's up to 23 million views. If we're not,
how long has this been out? A week?
A week at this point.
I just found out about it like a half hour before we started recording this podcast.
So
it's
again,
got 23 million views.
Right. If we're not talking about commercials like this, what the fuck is the point of doing the podcast? Blah blah blah. Okay.
But listen, people, tune in because. I promise you, this is gonna be good and entertaining because I know Mike's not really giving you much incentive.
It's almost like I'm trying to talk you into not listening to it. Yeah.
Stop. Yeah. Listen. We want you to listen.
All right.
Roll it back.
I mean, if you like fuck bad opinions, stay tuned.
Oh, I'm all about that bad opinion.
All right, so Pussy, you just watched the commercial for the first time. You got like a half hour ago, right?
First thing I have to say is that I mean, like this is so obvious what Gillette's trying to do. This is a commercial, I guess you could say lambasting so-called toxic masculinity, but but it's so fucking obvious that this is just like a case of virtue signaling.
I'm gonna put it to you this way.
Just based alone on the fact that it came out like the same week when like the 3rd annual Women's March was happening.
Right. Let me just
agenda.
Interject for a second. This is a sentiment that 99% of the time I agree with. it. Fucking toxic masculinity, bad. Don't like it. Want to see less of it in the world. Women's rights, equality. I'm all about that shit. I love that shit.
Can we define masculinity and toxic masculinity?
That was the next thing that I wanted to say. That was the next thing I wanted to address real briefly is, without maybe getting into it too much, is that there's a lot of people sometimes I think have a very difficult time distinguishing like just masculinity from toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
And I think there is a distinction, but that line is starting to get like a little bit blurrier and blurrier.
Is there
that's
even,
something that worries me.
Well,
right?
Here's the thing. If you're a shitty guy, right? Yeah. If you're a shitty guy or you're shitty to women,
piece of shit. You're
just a piece of shit. Can't we just talk about you in like general piece of shit terms? Why do we have to like drag something like what could potentially be a constructive concept as masculinity? Why do we have to start dragging that down? Do you hear anybody talk about like toxic femininity? And I'm not talking about like toxic feminism. I'm talking about toxic femininity.
Sure.
I've never heard anyone use that term, but by equal standards,
I bet you it exists. I bet you can find things and identify as toxic femininity. I bet you it exists
on like fucking like right-wing dirtbag like websites and shit like that.
Sure, but
I'm talking about like from a legitimate concept, because we're gonna sit here and we're gonna say, oh well, toxic masculinity is a legitimate concept, from like an apolitical perspective or moderate political perspective, if you will, because obviously it's a very political thing these days.
Right.
If we're gonna actually like legitimize the notion of toxic masculinity,
you have to identify it.
Then not only do we have to identify it, but then at the flip point, you would have to say that there must be also such a thing as toxic femininity.
I think there is.
I don't know. I don't know if I really agree with like the notion of like toxic masculinity or toxic femininity for that matter. I think there's just shitty people.
You're just an asshole.
There's shitty fucking people.
Like it's a way of dressing. It's a way of dressing or phrasing. Somebody being a fucking piece of shit.
You can be a misogynist,
but attaching like gender to it.
You can be a misogynist and be a man who says I hate women. That's misogyny. That's not toxic masculinity.
Toxic masculinity is, you could use that term in the context of the way men treat other men or regard other men or act around other men or behind the backs of other men even.
So,
right?
AKA scumbags. Again, we have a better word for it. It's called scumbags.
I can't argue with this.
It's a better word than a fucking an ambiguous garbage term that brings down that inadvertently or perhaps
drags like gender and
it inadvertently brings down like a legitimate concept of masculinity that is not a bad thing. If someone wants to be a masculine individual,
that's what I'm saying. I don't think there's anything necessary. There's nothing negative about masculine traits or behavior.
Do you want to get into when
it becomes a problem? I think is when it just like anything else, when it starts to negatively impact the lives of people around you.
Well,
That's what the word toxic is, right? If something is fucking toxic, it's causing harm to things around it.
Yeah.
You know,
sure.
I mean, that's the definition of what fucking toxic is.
That is the scientific textbook definition of toxicity.
And I mean, and I could argue that there's another word for that. You're a fucking asshole. You're an asshole. You're a scumbag. You're a piece of shit.
Well, if you
know, you don't do that. You don't do some of these things, whether you're a man, you're a woman. The reason that's being framed in a gender thing is because historically, you have all these like, I guess if you want to call them the constructs of society, whatever, where you've had women being relegated certain roles and into certain places, and men kind of benefiting from it or behaving accordingly to that, which we've been working on breaking down a lot of those things over the past couple of decades. Is there some of it left? Sure. Will it ever completely go away? I think it will. I think you're going to see less of it and less of it. And I think it'll be to the benefit of everybody ultimately. I do. You want to have conversations about, why can't a woman do this job or whatever? And it's like, maybe they can. I mean, it depends on what the job is. It depends on the fucking woman. This is one of those things where I like to say, look at the fucking merits and the talents and the skills, the abilities of the individual person,
and the interest,
and the level of interest. Right? You see a lot of people talking about, we need more women in STEM for whatever reason, whether it's biological or whether it is as a result of the the societal constructs that I was talking about earlier.
That are exclusionary. You mean,
you don't have there don't seem to be a lot of women that give a shit about STEM.
It's not in their interest, perhaps.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily that there might. I'm sure. Of course, we have to do a disclaimer. We know that sexism exists. We know that there are men out there in positions of power who hold down women from excelling, who exclude women from certain positions, who want to be in those positions,
want to pay them less, want to take advantage of them, want to
pay them less for equal work that a man might be doing.
It certainly goes on.
Of course, that happens. But you can't just argue like this equal ratio of people to be represented in everything in life as like some umbrella term of diversity. It's not exactly helpful.
I would put it like this. What I would like to see is certainly an encouragement of girls, young girls, to have an interest in STEM and let them know here are these fields of study that traditionally maybe like haven't been for women, but you know what, they are an option to you, because I think that's where this is a reaction against the past where there would have been an active discouragement of young girls from having an interest in science and
the
shit,
key
right?
We're talking about here is honestly all we're really talking about here that we support is the key word is opportunity.
Yeah, right.
That's what it is.
Right.
It's equal opportunity, not putting unnecessary, misogynist, not racist, but perhaps sexist obstacles in the way of a woman who wants to do something,
right?
Who is capable of doing it and wants to do something,
right.
I mean, like we're arguing against that. I don't know if this is what this toxic masculinity is all about, and I don't know.
It's kind of off topic. It's off topic.
I don't know if that is what this fucking commercial is about. Now, you brought up an interesting point before, saying that, like maybe there's some type of attachment of not male and female interactions with regards to where's the relevancy in toxic masculinity, but rather male on male action.
Yeah, so I think that's the bigger thing.
Let's look at the example.
Let's look at the commercial because you know what, I don't want to go too far into the weeds with tangential shit.
Oh, it's gonna happen.
It will, but let's actually finally talk about what's going on in this commercial. Let's take a look.
I wrote down
dig in.
a little list of the things that I saw like being depicted in the commercial. There was like physical bullying, cyberbullying, catcalling women in cartoons.
Let's to catcalling for 1 second. I just want to spend a brief second on catcalling.
On the cartoons or
the
in
entire
general?
The entire concept of catcalling. Even though I said I didn't want to get into the weeds, let me just. I mean, okay. So you're a dude, right? You're a construction worker, and you're sitting on a fucking. You're having your lunch break. You're sitting on one of those steel girders, right? and this sexy woman
What
walks
is this
by,
fucking like
right?
1920s New York?
Yeah, whatever.
What are you
sexy,
talking
no,
about?
Today. Say this happens today, right?
Which it does.
And this sexy, actually, no, look at it in the context of, going all the way back forever, right? You're sitting on this fucking girder, you see this sexy woman pass, and you look at her, and you're like, all right, she's hot. I want to have sex with that woman. I want to fuck her, right? In what universe is you whistling or yelling like, hey, sugar tits, gonna get you that result? What is I'm asking you what the point of catcalling is, because I never got it.
I know what the point of catcalling is. The point of catcalling, well, there could be several components. If you're in a group of guys and like a good-looking woman walks by,
okay,
the catcalling is kind of like a show to the other men. Like, whoa, look at me, guys. Like, yeah, I'm horny.
Are you impressed by that? Because I'm not impressed by that.
Well, I don't know. I've never been in that type of culture, but perhaps there's something to it in specifically like construction workers.
Maybe that's toxic masculinity right there.
I don't know if I would call it toxic masculinity. Maybe.
Well, what is it? Like encouraging a fucking culture of it's fucking cool, and it shows everybody how cool I am when I fucking shout something like sexual at a fucking stranger on the street.
The true thing that matters in that interaction is not how. Okay, first off, there's two things. Like I was saying, the first thing is that maybe a guy's doing it because he wants to impress all of his male friends. Maybe there's that pressure, like you were saying, that this guy feels obligated to whistle at this woman,
right?
Or maybe, let's say he's alone and he does that, right?
And might think he's gay if he doesn't.
No. Let's say if he's alone, there's no one to judge him that he's gay. So if he's alone and he does it, either he's doing it out of habit to reinforce that, that it's already ingrained in him that he has to do it among his friends, so he's going to do it privately as well. Yeah. Or how about this? Let's say you're this. I'm going immediately to like my personal like issues with engaging any woman in public. It's because you don't know if they're interested in you. If you go out and you see a woman in public and you think, wow, she's pretty, I think I would like to try to talk to her.
Yeah.
I mean, like whether you're catcalling or you just go up to her and you say, hi, how are you? My name's Pussy, or something like that.
Yeah, it's gonna go real well.
It's kind of like on the same level if the chick is not interested.
And you have no way of knowing if somebody's interested.
The point is, you have to. If you are a guy and you see a girl on the street and like you legitimately like might be interested in her, and like maybe, who knows, maybe that's your once in a lifetime fucking chance to be with this woman, and maybe she's your fucking true love. There needs to be some type of like social understanding and agreement between both of the sexes, if you will, to navigate and negotiate that type of interaction.
There is, and I think it's the setting.
It's called Tinder.
It's called that's dating apps. Is what it's called now.
Tinder.
But prior to that would have been you go to a bar.
But you can't.
If they're in the fucking bar, they may. I would argue that is probably the only place where it's acceptable to fucking begin a dialogue with a complete stranger. And even then it's tenuous, because chances are they're there with their friends and still don't want anything to do with you.
The point is this. We're looking at it from that male perspective, but you have to look at it from that female perspective. Let's say the woman's being catcalled and she wants nothing. Let's say she's married and she doesn't want anything to do with any fucking guy. Right?
Let's say she's not married and she doesn't want anything to do with any fucking guy. Let's
say that's the case. It's just a situation. I mean, like that's a bad thing for her to go through, but it's not. It's unfair that she would have to face that several times a day, every day, forever. Now, the point about the bar is like, it's the same situation. What if a woman lives alone and has a fucking like hard day, and at the end of the night she says, I need to get out, or I need to get away from my fucking roommates or something.
Yeah.
And I want to fucking drink. I want to be left alone. I want to fucking read my fucking emails while I'm at a bar.
Yeah.
And then that's the worst. That's even worse than like the situation in which the construction worker is whistling at you walking by,
right, because
there's alcohol involved, so people are even more aggressive.
Well, I don't know. Some of these construction workers look like they're fucking hammered sometimes.
They drink on the fucking job.
I mean,
I know. Yeah.
Fucking chug half a bottle of Jack Daniels before you hop in the fucking bulldozer or whatever.
Beep, beep, So we have the catcalling.
Yeah.
We have cyberbullying. We have physical bullying. We have a TV sitcom that reminded me when I sort of like Married with Children, where there's a guy like grabbing a woman's ass. We have a man in a boardroom speaking on behalf of a woman or trying to correct what she was saying.
Right. You're saying I saw that as like I saw that scene right there. And my first thought was mansplaining. Okay, mansplaining. That's another thing like that. Like for me with toxic masculinity, it's kind of like in an ambiguous area. It is
where I feel
I actually fucking despise that word.
Okay, so what? Yeah. So mansplaining is basically what? Mansplaining is whatever they say it is. Who's it seems anyone who points the finger and says you're mansplaining.
Anyone who's like, oh well, you just like fucking cut me off because you thought you could do a better job of explaining, you know, what I was just trying to explain, but you're a man and I'm a woman, or you just kind of are explaining something to me in a way that, you know, makes you seem like you're more authoritative on the subject. But I already know everything there is to know about that. So stop mansplaining at me and shut the fuck up. And and you know what? Here's my biggest issue with the word mansplaining. I have had that exact thing I just described to you done to me by far more women in my life than men.
So
I'm telling you, every fucking woman I ever dated has done that to me. Every fucking woman I've had as a friend has done that to me. Like, I'll be saying something and they're like, no, shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. Shut the fuck up.
So again,
no, shut the fuck up. All right, and I'm going to explain to you what you're talking about because you're a dumb man. Like, I've had that happen to me so many fucking times. I think the fuck word should be womansplaining, honestly.
How about we stop fucking politicizing it and just once again say, hey, guess what? There's assholes out there
again
who are engaging. Again. That explains it. It's like, oh wow, if someone actually comes up to you and is an obnoxious asshole and fucking like talks at you and insults you, the best way you could explain that to like someone else, like you walk up to someone else later on and you point at, you say, oh man, you point to the guy who was like quote unquote mansplaining to you, and instead of saying, oh, he's a mansplainer, you just say, oh man, that guy's a fucking asshole. And you'll get it.
It's just an asshole.
And you'll get it. But if you start saying, oh, he's a mansplainer, it's toxic masculinity, it's this and that, it's like, wait, why don't you fucking like, why don't we as a society come together to agree on these words, what they mean? Oh, wait, we did. It's called asshole. It's called scumbag. It's called piece of shit. It's called moron. How about that?
You're not gonna do that. If you're a person who understands like the basic fucking tenets of how to interact with other human beings in a social setting, you're not gonna fucking like hijack a conversation. You're not gonna sit there and fucking parrot things that you. It's almost like in certain situations you can assume that woman in the advertisement in that scene,
the boardroom,
she wouldn't have her job if she didn't know what the fuck she was talking about. She wouldn't have got there, right? Mm-hmm. There is a chance, and there is another angle to this. There is another angle to this, that the person who is being who's saying accusing somebody else of mansplaining or womansplaining. I'm going to say that, or womansplaining. I'm taking the gender completely out of this, right? For this right now. There's a chance that they don't know what they're talking about, and the other person is like, well, I have some issues with that. Allow me to share my point of view. And then in their mind, they look at it and they say, that's mansplaining because I just got sandbagged in front of the rest of the boardroom and now I feel bad about it. And that can happen to a man. That can happen to a man.
There's definitely legitimate scenarios in which a competent individual corrected...
you have incompetent people.
A competent individual corrected an incompetent individual.
To some degree.
And it was... It became
doesn't mean that
like
they're completely incompetent in every way. It's just people are wrong about things sometimes.
And it became like a human resources fucking like battleground.
Yeah. Well, you mansplained and it's like, no, man, no. She wanted to.
Was wrong or he was wrong.
Yeah.
And I corrected her.
Right.
And she felt bad, so she reported me.
Like they wanted to cut corners by reducing some element of production that would have given people like ass cancer. And I actually needed to stop that.
Yeah, I'm not. I was.
You know, and it's not a sexist thing.
I'm just against ass cancer.
It's not anti-woman. It's anti-ass cancer.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. You know, it was. This is an extreme example, obviously, but all of this is to say that there are definitely assholes running around who are going to just, you know, they would be more inclined to do something like that to somebody because they're a woman. That's definitely a thing.
Oh yeah.
You know, and here's another thing that goes on in the corporate world, especially. You have a lot of men that feel threatened by fucking women, by competent women, and they're a little bit insecure about their own incompetence. So they use the fact that I'm a man and they're a woman to their advantage.
You see, I never understood.
That definitely fucking goes on.
I never understood.
That goes on between men.
I never understood if you are a competent individual and you're in a working environment, wouldn't you want all the people you work with to also be competent as well?
No, you're threatened by that. That's part of the problem with the corporate fucking structure, the corporate fucking culture. Is it you would be threatened by somebody else who shows competence, right? You'd feel like that person could take my job. That person could unseat me from my position if they're better at what we're trying to get done here than I am.
But, you know, I mean, in a situation like that...
Now that's fucking toxic.
In a situation
and that only hurts the company.
I mean...
Hurts everybody.
There's an old saying that steel sharpens steel. You know, when you have, like... To become, like, a world-class athlete, for example, you need to face world-class competition.
Yeah.
Steel sharpens steel. If you are a competent individual, you want to work with the most competent individuals as well.
Yeah.
It will only make you better, stronger, smarter. For people to look at that situation and fear someone else's competency,
the corporate climate doesn't encourage that.
I don't even know if that's specifically corporate climate. As again, what is it? Maybe it's just an asshole thing. How about that?
Okay, I'll say this. I regularly see people on Twitch who feel threatened, or you could see that they're threatened by other streamers, right? And so they'll like avoid them, right? Or not fucking, you know, have anything to do with them or acknowledge their existence even, right? Because there's a little bit of a threat or a little bit of an insecurity. Meanwhile, it's one of those things where, like you just said, you only have something to gain by engaging with other people in the Twitch community, right? Like that whole cross-pollination thing, get your content out there and fucking have everybody, you know, potentially grow their content. But you will regularly see people, I don't know, kind of retreating to their own little corners and not acknowledging some of the talent that's around them out of fear that maybe that person is better at what I do than I am, right?
I mean... That happens
even
beyond
there.
Twitch.
So I'm saying the corporate world.
It's a human thing.
I'm saying the corporate world, but I'm there's nothing corporate about what I do, and I see that behavior. I see that attitude.
It's
right?
like it's a part of humanity.
It is, yeah.
I guess to be insecure and to feel threatened.
Yeah.
And that can manifest itself in various industries. Corporate world, non-corporate world, Twitch, non-Twitch, and it can manifest itself among like sexist lines, racist lines, or other.
It goes on in fucking prides of lions and groups of like chimps living in the jungle.
So
right?
it's not like a toxic masculinity thing.
It's not.
So what else do we have here? The cyberbullying. I thought the cyberbullying was an interesting one.
Right. Why?
Well, I read a book recently that I would recommend everyone read. It's Pussy's Pick of 2018. It was called the Coddling of the American Mind, written by Greg Lukanikoff and Jonathan Haidt. Forgive me if I mispronounce their names. But I read an interesting part. There was an interesting part in this book that I read that stated, with regards to like cyberbullying and like social media, it's actually really, really like horrible in like adolescent teenage girls. They're the ones who are doing more of the bullying on social media and online against other girls. As a matter of fact,
this is quantifiable.
It's quantifiable in suicide rates.
Really?
The rate of suicide among like adolescent girls who have, you know, in this day, they know they were born in the age of the internet.
They've endured cyberbullying at the hands of other girls.
They've endured cyberbullying at the hands of other girls. They have the fear of missing out, the fear of being excluded. They see photos and videos on Instagram and all similar type of aesthetic type of social media platforms. Yeah. And there's a huge, it's linked to
depression.
A spike in depression, and it's linked to a fucking spike in female suicide attempts and suicide rates, like among adolescents, like skyrocketing, since like
social media stuff.
Since like 2013, 2014.
Right.
So when it comes to like, again, you
don't need to fucking have to look into this, some kind of fucking study, some kind of research to come to the conclusion that teenage girls can be like especially vicious.
They're vicious on social media to other ones. And you want to know something? This is the common thread that's arising so far out of this podcast. It's that this isn't like these aren't just like male issues. These aren't like gender or sex exclusive issues. These things that this commercial attempted to address might have nothing to do with toxic masculinity and more to do with just asshole humans being assholes. Or not being socially developed properly while they're fucking kids.
Right.
And not having their behavior corrected as, while they're adolescents.
Right.
This has less to do with toxic masculinity as it does to do with more, hey, sometimes human beings can just be pieces of shit. Every human being has the capacity to be a piece of shit. Man, woman, or whatever.
It has to do with what kind of culture you're brought up in, the kind of people that you spend your time around, right? You fucking hang out with assholes. Your chances are you're going to become an asshole yourself. And I think what they're fighting against here, if they're fighting, Gillette is fighting against nothing. Gillette is trying to fucking put money in their fucking pockets. Let's not forget. That's where all this is going. Let's not forget.
They're trying to capitalize off the women's fucking march this week. Okay, that's what they're trying to do. That's exactly what they're trying to do.
The timing is a little too convenient, of course. But what those women may very well be marching against is the idea that there are existing these pockets of a culture that is, I think you could say it's toxic, or it's sexist, and has a negative impact on, I would say, not just the lives of women but the lives of other men as well.
Oh, certainly.
It goes on. It does go on. I've seen it firsthand. I've witnessed it. I've been around it. I know that it fucking happens. I think that there should be less of it, and I think that, again, I said it in the beginning of the recording. I agree with a lot of the sentiments that I see in this commercial, but I don't understand. I mean, I do understand why I'm seeing it come from them, and I'm offended at how ham-fisted it fucking is, and how exaggerated and stupid all of it is.
How about,
like, this is not the way to fucking, this is not the way to you sell razor blades. It's not your fucking job to have anything to do with any of this.
So wait a minute.
Even though they think they do, because they say it on their website, which we're going to get into later.
So tonight. Okay, so Gillette feels so inclined to educate people about toxic masculinity to the point where they could just take a fucking shit on men. Could you explain to me what the fucking what the image of fucking the row of men standing in front of a row of grills, grilling it and saying boys will be boys? Could you explain to me what was fucking horrible about that? That you can distill down to a men being jerks? What the fuck was that?
I have no idea what the thing was with the grills.
What the fuck is wrong with fucking grilling?
The grilling is toxic.
Grilling's toxic?
Meat is toxic.
Yeah, if you fucking grill Blinky from fucking Springfield from The Simpsons. Yeah, that's fucking toxic. Blinky
He's talking about the fish with the 3 eyes, right?
If you fucking grill that, sure, it's fucking toxic.
I guess meat is toxic. That's the point. Like, having a backyard barbecue is the most toxic masculine thing you can do. having a backyard fucking barbecue. In fact, you know what we need to do? Now I'm pissed. Now I'm angry. They've attacked me. They've gone too far. All right? Starting today, me and you, Rip Van Winkle. That's it. Throw out every shaving product you own. Throw it right in the toilet. Throw it. Take that fucking razor blade, put that shit in the toilet, and then flush it.
Nobody would do that.
He's joking, of course. He already saw the picture I showed him earlier tonight. This fucking moron threw his fucking razor. This is, again, it's just like the Nike thing. Just like the Nike thing. And I keep saying, I said this on stream recently. It's like, you're going to go through this life, and there's going to be things that annoy you. There's going to be things that piss you off. There's going to be things you don't like. Do you set those things on, in retaliation, do you set personal belongings on fire? Do you throw personal belongings in the toilet? Personal belongings that you spent money on? Well, at least there's a fucking plumber out there who's going to have a fucking, he's going to be able to feed his family this week,
Yeah, he's going to get some sick overtime.
He's going to get overtime. He's going to be able to...
He's going to get some sick... It's fucking... It's like below 5 degrees right now in New York. Okay?
Yeah.
It's 5 below zero.
Fucking shit.
It's 5 below zero right now. There's a fucking polar vortex. There's ice all over the street. We've had storms the past fucking couple days. And this moron is trying to flush a metal fucking razor blade, a razor handle, and expects things to go okay.
Here's my fucking point.
Down
okay?
metal pipes.
As annoyed as we seem by this commercial, and we are annoyed by it.
It's insulting.
You're not gonna. You feel insulted? You would go that far?
It's insulting because I see the fucking bullshit.
It's an insult to your intelligence. I don't see it as an insult to me as a man. I see it as an insult to my intelligence and common sense.
Exactly. They're releasing it during the week of the Women's March.
Yeah.
They're propagating like myths against men that have like nothing to do with toxic masculinity. They're not fucking defining or giving like legitimate examples of toxic masculinity. It's like, I can't stand this shit anymore. I can't fucking stand it. How many years have we been seeing shit like this?
But he's not trying to flush his fucking razor blades.
No,
he's not trying to flush.
I stopped fucking buying Gillette razor blades years ago because they're too fucking expensive.
That's your problem, Gillette. That's your fucking problem. Your shit costs too much money.
I used to use Mach 3s, and I liked the blade and I liked the fucking handle, but it would cost like fucking $50 for like 16 blades. And my hair, I'm Italian.
You see that right there, though?
My fucking hair comes out everywhere, like fucking that.
That is an example of a real problem. Okay, I can't afford this fucking product. That's the reason you stop using a product. You don't stop using a product because of a stupid fucking commercial.
It's so expensive.
They're fucking putting their razor blades in the toilet.
That guy threw $20 down the fucking toilet. That photo you showed me. That
might as well have been a $20 bill in the toilet.
Just take a $20 bill.
That must be nice to like not have real problems, right? If your fucking reaction is to get like insanely angry over this commercial to the point where you're flushing money down the toilet, I'm jealous of you. I'm really. If you have the time and the inclination to put a fucking razor blade in the toilet and take a picture of it and post it to Twitter because you're that angry, you have the time and the luxury to sit around and get pissed over a fucking commercial and throw the fucking shit in the toilet. $20 literally down the drain.
Literally. You're jealous. Man, you need some like fucking like better heroes in your life if you're fucking jealous of this motherfucker.
You get what I'm trying to say though, right?
No, I get what you're trying to say. It's a good point. Another good point. The one good point that they did make, I don't even know if you could. I don't even want to give them any fucking credit. But yes, there are scenes of like physical bullying in the commercial, right? And like yes, kids will do that. But then there's another scene back to the backyard scene. All right, where there's two fucking kids like going at it. They're getting a little rough. They're getting a little roughhouse, and they say boys will be boys, and then the narrator says something along the lines of, "Fucking like same old excuses." It's like, excuse me, I'm sorry, but fucking like a couple of kids roughhousing or fucking like getting into a little physical scuffle when they're fucking like 5 years old, 6 years old does not mean they're gonna grow up to be fucking rapists. It does not mean
One
they're
of
going
the
to grow up
kids-
to be fucking sexist.
you pointed
It's
this out.
actually pretty fucking good for them to fucking be able to do something like that.
You pointed out that one of them had a smile on his face, like he was having fun.
Yeah,
the one who was on the
The
ground,
redhead kid who was on the fucking
Well, actually, he
ground
was having a
had a
good
smile
time.
on his face. It looked like they were just fucking horsing
It
around.
gets to a point where it has to stop. I mean, I'll give you a good example. I was with my fucking, my nephews, and they were. It started like that. That's what it is. You kind of have to know the kids and know when to say, like, all right, you need to stop doing that. Like, a little bit of roughhousing, sure, is a good time. It's good for them. I'm sure it's good for them. But these kids, it looked like I was watching a fucking WWE match. Like, one of them got up on one of the arms of the couch and just did like a fucking elbow drop onto his fucking brother's neck.
Somebody
It was
whipped
like
out a fucking steel chair.
There was fucking steel chairs at the fucking, at the party. I was waiting for one of them to go under the table and bring out like a fucking 2x4 wrapped in barbed wire. Like, it was and I went over and I was like, time to stop.
Yeah.
Getting a little stupid
But
now.
that's another thing that they talk about in the book, The Coddling of the American Mind. It's like you have to let these fucking these boys
Let
do
them act
shit
it
like
out.
that.
Let
You
them
have
act
to
it out a
act
little bit.
like boys.
To a point. There is a point we have to stop.
If they're gonna hurt themselves or they're gonna hurt others,
Yeah.
like legitimately,
Yeah.
then you
I'm
have
not
to
saying
step
just
in.
fucking let them fucking eat each other's fucking faces
But
like
don't-
Lord of the Flies type
Don't
shit.
fucking say to me that type of situation is gonna grow up. Those boys are gonna grow up to be like one of the fucking misogynists.
There's a false equivalency
do
here.
not fucking
There's a false
say that.
equivalency here.
But
is your-
that's
is
what
your
Gillette
point.
is
Yeah.
saying.
There's a false
That's a
equivalency
big
here.
fucking
Yeah.
problem. And you want to know something? I bet you there's a lot of people out there who are saying like, "Oh, thank God, there's finally some like corporations bringing to light like toxic masculinity." And they look at the scene where the fucking kids are fighting in the backyard, horsing around, or maybe even for real fighting, and they're saying like, "Oh wow, that's really it. It does start at fucking childhood when these fucking look." That looked like a nice barbecue. Everybody was having a good
a lot
time.
of meat,
It was
man.
fucking sunny. People were having a good time. There's no fucking monsters being created there. Those aren't fucking kids that grow up to be fucking Hitler. What's the fucking point they're trying to make?
The biggest problem I saw at that barbecue was the fact that there were like 90 like little grills when there should have just been like one big grill. Like, why did all these guys bring
Maybe
like
they all-
one fucking individual grill?
Maybe it was like a cross-contamination.
You know those little
issue.
circular grills? They didn't want to cause cross.
They didn't want to
Every single
cross-contaminate.
one of those guys was grilling like a different kind of meat.
Yeah, there was a competition actually.
There was a lot of grills though. Like, it must have been like all kinds of crazy bush meat going on. Maybe
Nah,
like
there was-
kangaroo and python and shit. You know?
They're python.
Yeah, python meat, dude.
Python meat? Do you say fucking meat on
Real
python?
man eat python meat.
I have eaten snake before.
Have you eaten snake?
Actually, no. I've eaten.
You
no,
trying
I've
to say
eaten-
you sucked
I've-
cock?
I've eaten alligator. Fuck you.
See that?
That's
some
toxic
people would consider that
masculinity.
that's a
That was
toxic masculinity
which
joke.
has happened here.
That's a toxic masculinity joke.
So we're gonna be featured in the next Gillette commercial. Like they're gonna fucking hang us or something.
Cool.
Yeah, sure.
Fucking end it, please.
So there was also.
Then I won't have to watch any more of these fucking commercials.
Let's see what else. So there's physical bullying, there's cyberbullying, there's catcalling in a cartoon. That's what we didn't address is that we spoke to catcalling, in general.
Yeah.
But in the commercial, they depict catcalling in a cartoon.
Yeah, I think they're referencing in the 70s Warner Brothers cartoons.
Like the Tom Wolfe character or whatever.
Yeah. There was actually a character who his whole thing was like he couldn't handle his shit when he saw like some boobs. And
so it's me.
I mean, yeah.
Because when I see tits, my mind ceases to function.
Like you just lose it. Like you just stop.
I don't go ahead and fucking like harass the woman.
Yeah,
When I see tits, my IQ drops by like at least like 100.
You lose some motor function.
And I probably only have like a 70 IQ
to begin with.
So it drops to 100. I'm getting into the fucking negative territory.
Yeah.
When I see fucking like tits, it's just I'm dumb.
Yeah, but
I'm
you're
dumb.
not gonna fucking whistle and fucking be like, "Hey, sugar tits" or whatever the fuck.
But that's not what Tom Wolfe did. He just whistled.
He whistled and his fucking eyes popped out, and I think
that's okay.
I think the point is, well, you don't want to stare at the fucking girl's tits, man.
When his eyes pop out, it's like my IQ dropping to below.
Yeah,
like to the temperature it is right now in New York City.
I mean, I think generally the character was portrayed as like kind of an asshole, right? Like wacky things happen to him. It was a situation where fuck shit fell on his head, bugged Acme anvils and
Nothing
shit.
bad ever happened to the good characters. Like
I don't remember this fucking cartoon, but I can't see them portraying him as like a fucking, like some kind of hero. And I also, even if they did, that era is behind us. That era is behind us. They're not making cartoons like that today. You don't have to watch that cartoon if you don't want to. I'm sure you'd have a hard time even finding that. It might be on YouTube or something. I don't fucking know. It's not on Crunchyroll.
There was another instance where there was a TV sitcom where I thought maybe they were like evoking like a Married with Children, Al Bundy type of TV show.
Yeah.
I don't know. You were saying before that show wasn't very sexist.
When he had said that,
I thought maybe they had something there.
My response is I don't think you could call Married with Children sexist because for every fucking instance and there were many, every instance of that show portraying a woman as like an idiot,
an object, a slut, an idiot, whatever,
or whatever. There was another one portraying a man as being equally fucking stupid and flawed and incompetent and dumb.
All the characters were fucking were in their own ways scumbags.
Like, you're right. So you had
Al Bundy's son Bud was a fucking scumbag.
Total scumbag.
Pervert.
The daughter was a slut and an airhead. The wife was just like a manipulative fucking money digging like just bitch.
Yeah.
Bitch.
Yeah.
And fucking Al Bundy himself was just a fucking moron.
Smelled moron. Fucking
loser.
Dead end job.
Loser. Yeah.
Loser. Fucking loser.
So at least that show was and right. You had the neighbor who was like a cuck, like a straight up cuck, with his fucking like feminist cunt wife. She was a feminist cunt. Like that was how when they fucking wrote the spec script for that fucking show, and they had the character, they were like, give me the vilest, most stereotypical, most vicious, fucking conniving, just malignant feminist personality that you can, and that is going to be that character, right?
Yeah.
But my point being is that they were very equal in their lampooning of these stereotypes, right? Everybody got it in an equal fucking capacity.
But what the show did do is they would show women, some scantily clad at times, and then show like Al Bundy and his co-workers like looking at them, basically doing the catcalling. And like
right, but these are not sympathetic characters, right? Like you look at them and you're like, they're being portrayed as morons and unsavory types.
The point I want to make is this, and it seems to be like there seems to be like a convergence around this point lately. I've seen it like arising like in numerous places, and it's basically that the people today are like judging like things that happened and shows that happened that came out like 30, 40 years ago by today's standards. And it's not fair to do that. I mean, like, you could this isn't like saying like fucking lampooning fucking like the Tom Wolfe character or Bud Bundy today is not the same thing as like saying today fucking there should never have been slavery in the United States of America. It's fucking like it's two different fucking things. Like societies change in generally in a positive and constructive way. Like
hopefully,
like every 5 years there's some significant change. Every 10 years it's different. By the time like 30 years rolls around, fucking every 30 years the world looks incredibly different than it did the 30 years prior.
Sure.
At least for the past like 3 centuries or so.
Sure.
But I don't necessarily think that, like, for example, the like Married with Children. I don't think that's something that we necessarily have to move away from, and like the under the guise of being like progressive or more promoting of equal opportunities for women. But it seems like there might be some people out there who think like that, and I think they're seriously mistaken. And as I would actually argue, it's fucking regressive rather than it's ironically regressive, because most of those people would probably call themselves progressives. Yeah. It's like they're trying to jerry rig like the way society is. They're trying to like socially construct it in such a way that it molds to what their vision of like an equal society is. And you can't do that. You can't artificially like you cannot artificially force things to be a certain way. You have to let them progress naturally.
Mm-hmm. And it feels like that's what's happening. That's what people are trying to do.
That's what happens when people don't focus on like actually promoting equal opportunities and rather promote something along the lines of like it's called like equity. People call it equity these days. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, we have to make sure that that everywhere and everything there's 50% men, 50% women, and like 25% are black and 25% are Latino and only 10% are Asians because everybody hates Asians all of a sudden apparently. Apparently in fucking New York the Asians are getting shit on by the fucking de Blasio administration and his new schools chancellor because they do too well on the tests here to get into the specialized high schools. Anyway, that's a
sidetrack.
That's a sidetrack. We'll get off that, but let's see what else.
De Blasio administration. That's fucking. He's the most liberal mayor New York City has ever had.
No, he's not. You can't call him a liberal. Yeah, liberals do not exist. Liberals do not exist in this city anymore. There's only fucking like progressives who, which, as far as I can tell, are like farther left than liberals. The way that I would define a liberal is like someone who has like left-leaning politics but is sensible, somebody who would say they support equal opportunity rather than like equality of outcome type of situations or equity type of situations. Well, they're going way beyond that to the point where they want to socially construct results.
Yeah.
Which doesn't work. It's
going to cause
it's
problems.
Against humanity. Again, people are assholes. You can't fucking breed asshole out of humanity. You can't breed like some type of like inequality out of humanity. People
it takes time.
It takes
if you're going to do it.
If you want to
attempt it,
you want to do it right.
Time.
You say okay. So like what's happening?
You're talking about lifetimes. You have to. It's about education. It's about raising people. So what's fucking have certain values.
What's happening in New York?
Yeah.
This is a perfect example. Is that to get into the best high schools in New York City, the technical high schools they're called, you have to take a test, and the people who do well on the test get in. The Asians are like I can't tell you the exact number, but let's say like 90% of the people who get into the vast majority of the people who get into these schools are Asians because the Asian community from fucking childhood has been preparing their fucking kids all through their fucking their
it's part of their culture.
School,
it's part of their culture to really take education extremely seriously.
Now, if you want to say there needs to be more like black representation in these schools, what you do is you make sure that black families have access to opportunities, educational opportunities to prepare these kids in the same way that say the Asians would. Right. That should be if black communities for whatever reason
historical reasons
are maybe let's say they're lower income and they can't afford tutors. Maybe that is where the city should step in. That's where like liberals should step in. But no, the progressive line is we're not going to do that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna eliminate the test. We're not gonna let all these people who do well on this test get in. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the top 7% of every kid in every school and put them into these top schools. Naturally, what that's going to do is going to degrade the quality of the student who's going into these top schools, which therefore will degrade the quality of the top school. It's not a solution to the problem. The problem is that there are these people, blacks, Latinos, for example, who from childhood, for economic reasons and maybe cultural reasons, do not get the guidance that they need from their parents, and maybe the state or the city can offer that guidance and allow these kids to reach the same standards that, say, the Asian communities have. That's what needs to happen, because that's an actual fix for social inequality, for the problems of any type of inequality. The solution is not fucking
addressing the issue at its source as opposed to putting some kind of Band-Aid on it.
What they're doing is, I'm going to borrow a line from the book of the Coddling of the American Line. It's not even a line from them. This is an old adage, but it's don't prepare the child for the road rather than like clear the obstacles out of the road for the child. And that's what progressives do. They're clearing the obstacles out of the road for the children rather than challenging them, and they're just taking them and they're fucking doing whatever they want with them in this
It's not even like
sense of,
removing the
equality.
obstacles. It's just picking them up, bringing them over the obstacles, and putting them down.
But that doesn't do the child any favor. The child doesn't develop serious skills, analytical skills, critical thinking skills, the ability to write, the ability to read, the ability to do math or anything like that. It's just, no, we need to lower the standards. Dude, that's not fucking liberal. Okay? So don't even fucking say that de Blasio's liberal, because he's fucking not. He's a progressive. And that's part of the problem with progressives, that, like I said before, ironically, they're regressive in a lot of ways. But I'm sorry, maybe we're getting off track. Other things that happened in the commercial was the physical bullying, cyberbullying, catcalling, TV sitcoms, the boardroom, the boys fighting, same old excuses, line of men grilling. I'm still fucking confused about that one. So there's one part of the commercial where Terry Crews is testifying before Congress, and he says men need to hold other men responsible. And then it goes into a montage of exactly that. And there was one that kind of like stuck out to you that I think you want to address.
Yeah, so there's a woman walking down the sidewalk, and this fucking guy is, I guess, leaning against the wall, and he stands up, and he takes a couple of steps, like, I guess, to follow her down the sidewalk.
He goes like, he says like, oh.
He takes a couple of steps towards her, and then this fucking guy, this other guy, out of nowhere emerges from a building, right? The doors of a building. Yeah. He was inside of a building, walked out of the building, and then steps in front of the guy and puts his hand on him, like touched him, and was like, "Not cool, man. Not cool.
Not cool, man."
Now, obviously, being the viewer of the commercial, right? We could sit here and look at it in context and say, okay, so that guy was about to start catcalling that woman and saying some nasty, like, vile sexual shit, right? Which is not cool. Which is not cool. And this guy is coming in, like he's white knighting, if you want. Like he's gonna stop. He's stopping him from doing that.
Excuse me. That's a toxic masculinity term. Please do not use that term. White knighting. Thank you.
Okay, he's stepping in to sorry. He's stepping in to stop that guy from doing that, right? My question is, how did he know? So I have a couple of theories, right?
Okay.
First, he's psychic.
Yeah.
Or no, not psychic. Maybe he read that guy's mind and he heard, through telepathy, like all the shit, like nice tits.
He's
like
Jean Grey.
He heard it.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. You're not even allowed to think nice tits anymore?
You're not even allowed to think.
You can't even think nice tits.
You can't even think nice tits.
Where's the noose?
You can't even think nice tits. You're not even allowed to think. This is fucking 1984, dude.
This world, I'm not meant for this world if I can't even think the words nice tits in my fucking head.
You can't even think nice tits. You're not even allowed to think it.
I was thinking about them all night, about, you.
About my man tits?
Yeah, I was just thinking all night. Tonight.
Thank you. Anyway, so it was either telepathy or it was he's prescient. He saw the future. Maybe even like weeks before, right? So that guy, he saw that event playing out, right? He also saw like a genocide in Sudan or something, but
he decided,
But he thought that this would be the more important thing to try to stop, right? So he came down to the fucking, like, that road. He flew in from another city.
Chicago.
Right? And he went into that building and sat there for like several hours, like waiting for that fucking, he was looking at his watch. He was like, so the guy in the fucking vision, he passes at like 5:15 p.m. So at 5:15, I'm going to walk outside and I'm going to stop that fucking event from happening. And maybe, who knows, maybe fucking he actually saved the world. Maybe that dude catcalls that woman,
he saves
and
the world?
She's like, yeah. Maybe, say in the universe where that guy did catcall that woman, right? And she was like, you know what?
Oh my
God. I'm fucking done with the male species. She runs for fucking office, right? And she runs on a platform of fucking, like gender equality and stuff. It starts, agreeable enough at first. And then once she's in office, she's like, all right. The fucking problem with men, it's getting out of control. I mean, what are we going to do? I mean, they're running around doing whatever they want. They're fucking holding women back. They're pushing women down. You know, the glass ceiling. You know, it's all this fucking just men. We've got to fucking do something. All right. Gets approval from Congress to start rounding up all the men. All right.
Because Congress is all women at this
point. Yes. Yeah. Because that guy stopped other didn't stop other instances of catcalling, right? Because he didn't stop other instances of catcalling.
He's not as prescient as he thought he was.
So, no. Or
maybe he gets hazy.
This is the universe.
This is fucking Looper. This is the fucking movie Looper.
This is the universe where he doesn't stop any of the catcallings, right? This fucking like superhero who stops catcallings, right? So all these fucking women end up in government and they pass a fucking decree, right? Where they're going to round up all the men and they're going to keep them in like fucking cattle enclosures. Mm-hmm. Only to be milked for their sperm just by machine. They're not even getting HJs. No HJs. Nothing. You never fucking touch. A female never touches you. All right? And then they propagate the male species. They propagate the species like that.
Wouldn't it make
sense? The baby males go into the it's a sci-fi.
Wouldn't it be more?
It's a sci-fi scenario.
Wouldn't it be more efficient for the men?
Amazon society. He's fucking preventing total Amazonian fucking society fucking from taking place.
Wouldn't it be easier for the men in these fucking like cattle things to just like jerk themselves off or jerk each other off? Like that would be the mandate. The mandate because they want to. They
go on mandates. They go on mandates because they can't date women anymore.
The mandate is mandates. Like
it's mandated
forced mandates to get the sperm. That's what they do.
Do they eat dates on the mandated mandates?
They don't eat anything. They feed them fucking like steroids and
growth hormone.
Fucking growth hormone.
Things to make the sperm like more virile.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And the men they can't jerk themselves off. They have to jerk another man off. Because it's also punitive. Because this is the mandate from fucking Congress that's run by, you know, like the vindictive women and the vindictive female president. They've already rounded up all the men. Yeah. So now they have to, you know, exterminate them, but they also have to punish them. So I
don't think they kill them. I don't think they kill them.
Okay, they're going to force them into forced homosexuality.
Forced homosexuality.
which will be a punish for many men, obviously.
I mean, I wouldn't even go that far. You're turning my fucking.
Oh, we're talking about prison. That's what we're talking about.
You're turning my innocent, not at all weird.
This is innocent.
My not at all weird sci-fi scenario into something like really really twisted. And you know what, man, I don't appreciate it.
Okay, so you have a more rosy future. That's where this was going. This was a more rosy future than what I brought out.
I mean, listen, like you can be gay in there. Like you totally like obviously like if you're gay, like you're gonna be like, oh no.
Well, if you're gay, then they have a woman fucking jerk you off.
That's how they punitively punish you?
Yeah, because I mean, you're still a man. You're a gay man, but you're still a man, so they get a woman to jerk you off.
Yeah, but I feel like if it's a but you don't understand. You get no human contact.
No human contact?
No, you get no human contact. You're not even like you don't even get to like
all right,
fuck
so you
other
can't
men.
jerk
you
yourself off, so it's all the machines. The machine is like it's like a penis pump hooked up to you.
Yeah,
and
it doesn't even feel good.
It just slurps it out. It's like you know how they do it? They go directly to the source. They insert there's a penis
you don't even
pump.
Get jerked off.
There's a penis pump, and then a urethra, a fucking like a thing goes up your urethra and directly into your sack. Well, that it doesn't work like that. But fuck it. I know this isn't the biology, but
no,
fuck
it doesn't. That would not work.
This is an alternate future. It goes through your penis hole, and then it fucking goes down into the sack, and it just sucks the sperm out while they're being developed. That's
Nobody gets to have any kind of sexual like gratification ever again.
Yeah.
Ever again.
No men do.
No men do. No. Yeah. No. We're like second class citizens in this, and that is why that guy stopped that.
No, we wouldn't even be citizens. Not even citizens. They're just fucking like.
No, we're chattel.
We're meat.
We're chattel.
Chattel.
You don't even get to fucking.
You think that's why the guy stopped him?
So he either has telepathy, or he could see the future. And I had a third thing that I was gonna suggest, but I don't remember what it was because we talked about that.
All right, you know what really happened?
What?
They were friends and they knew each other, and the guy who was about to fucking go after the girl was a scumbag, and the guy who stopped him knew he was a scumbag.
Maybe he recognized him.
That's what happened.
No,
but you want to know something?
no.
But you want to know something? If what I just said is true, you know what that is?
What?
That's fucking bad writing, because that was not clearly If
No,
that
it's
is
terrible
true,
writing, terrible
if that's
writing.
true, then it wasn't clearly fucking expressed.
Terrible
and for
fucking writing all around.
Oh, by the way, Gillette calls this a short film. For this to be a fucking short film, to have fucking like all this like this bullshit, this like it's just garbage writing. I mean, like everything we've been pointing out so far that's wrong with this commercial. How about just like that? How about like just that we just fucking talked about?
Can I interrupt you because I remembered
Sure.
my third thing?
What's the third one?
That guy's he's going through like a Mobius strip, like Groundhog Day.
What's a Mobius strip?
You ever see the movie Groundhog Day?
Yeah, he keeps on going through the same scenario day after day.
And in that was the day like he broke the Mobius strip, because that was one of the things that he had to do to like prove to like God or whatever that he was a good person. Because like in the previous instances of the day, he didn't stop that guy from catcalling her. But now he learned, he's been in the Mobius strip for like the equivalent of like 1,000 years, right? And the one thing that he had left to do was to stop that guy from catcalling her. That's the reason that he fucking did it. It's a Mobius strip Groundhog Day type.
So then, if it was a Mobius
because how else did he know that was going to happen? He was inside that building. He couldn't see that taking place. He couldn't hear that taking place. That fucking guy didn't say anything. I'm very annoyed by this. If you can't tell,
dude, what if that?
Where are my fucking razor blades? I need to put them in the toilet.
What if the guy who was gonna go after the girl? What if he was gonna stop her and say, "Excuse me, miss, I know you don't know me, but
you dropped some change.
Excuse me, miss, I know you don't know me, but I have to be honest with you. You might perhaps be one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my entire life, and I know you're walking away right now, and I know you're busy, but I just felt I needed to say that to you. I needed to say that to you because I might never see you again. And you want to know something? Maybe this is true love."
If somebody did that to you, would you not be extremely creeped out?
The next thing you would hear would be
you would just immediately start blowing him right there in the street?
Yeah, sure. Or at least let him blow me.
Or at least let him blow you.
Yeah, and then if he followed that up and said, "Listen, let me fucking take you into this back alley and blow you," I would consider it.
You would consider it?
25% chance.
You know what? That would that's. But is that as bad as catcalling, or is that's almost as bad as catcalling?
What if this guy went up to the girl and he was about to compliment her, and he was going to be charming, and he wasn't going to be an asshole, and maybe she was going to be receptive to it, and then they would have fucking like gone out and had a great time.
What universe are you living in? You live in New York City.
That fucking guy. That guy was tall. He had long blonde hair. That girl probably. A guy like that walks up to a girl, like a girl's probably going to be like, "Oh, thank God it's not a fucking fat, sweaty fucking Twitch streamer." You know what I mean?
You know what? I don't think it would have worked.
No, it probably wouldn't work.
I think
but
that,
the point I'm making is that you don't know. That's the point where both of us are making right now. We don't know what would have happened, and there clearly was nothing in that scenario to suggest that guy was about to do something asshole-ish. I'm not even going to say.
Did she have
like
headphones
toxic.
on? You know, if you see a woman with headphones on, you don't fucking ever.
I don't know. I don't remember she had headphones on. Again, we only saw this commercial like once or twice tonight.
Question: headphones, earbuds, whatever. Universal symbol for like leave me the fuck alone.
Not necessarily. It's universal symbol for I'm listening to something on my phone.
That's what you think?
No, of course that's what I think. I mean, that's the fucking. There's something called. There's something called resting bitch face.
Resting bitch face.
One of my ex-girlfriends explained this to me. There's something called resting bitch face. And what she meant by that is like, well, when you're out in public and you go on the subway, you make things known. You make it like obvious that you don't want to be fucking bothered. So
really,
for her, and I guess for others, the resting bitch face is I'm going to fucking look like a bitch whenever I'm out in public to deter people from trying to talk to me.
Well, I thought resting bitch face was just that's what your face looks like. You look like a bitch and there's nothing you could do about it.
Or maybe it's a forced bitch face. I don't know.
I think you're talking about a forced bitch face.
It could be a subway bitch face.
Yeah.
Either way, it's a bitch face. Maybe it's not resting bitch face, but this is what she explained to me. There's girls out there. If you want someone to leave you alone, not putting headbuds in isn't necessarily like the universal sign stop. You know why? Because everybody in this day and age is fucking addicted to their fucking phones. They're addicted to their fucking phones. They have Bluetooth. They have Bluetooth speakers. They fucking watch videos while they're walking. They watch videos on the subway. They watch videos all over the place. They're on their phone. It doesn't mean like I'm closed off to the world. That's not necessarily what it means. I disagree with you.
Yeah.
At the end of the commercial, they had some fucking bullshit quote, which I'm not going to fucking repeat. But then they offered a website to go to. The website is thebestmencanbe.org. So, you fucking see that and you say, the first thing that popped into my fucking head was, if you remember from a few episodes ago, we did a segment on, I believe, Nationwide. Then how they have their whole campaign, like a safety campaign, where they put out fucking memes about statistics and shit like that. And they have a fucking website dedicated to it that's separate from their own fucking website.
Yeah.
When I saw that Gillette had thebestmencanbe.org, I said to myself, wow, they're going fucking like full in with this fucking farce, right? They're going fucking full in.
They got a website, man.
They made a complete website.
So we went to the best a man can be,
thebestmencanbe.org,
and it redirected us to Gillette's website, where they have an embedded.
There is no website.
There's an embedded video player. It is not a website. There's a short blurb here. And there are there's a directory at the top of the website where you could buy all of their products, because let's not forget the reason this commercial was made. It wasn't to fight toxic masculinity.
No.
Was it?
No.
What was the reason the commercial was made, Pussy? Say it.
The commercial was not made to fight toxic masculinity. What was it made for? The commercial was not made to support women. The commercial was made to capitalize on the fucking the same week that the Women's March was going to come out.
In order to do what?
In order to, I don't know. Obviously to sell fucking shit.
In order to
sell their fucking shit. Sell fucking razors.
Yes.
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 But
that's what it's all about. That's why we're here.
They're trying to get.
That's why Nike hired Colin Kaepernick.
They're trying to get some social justice brownie points with some viewers to make them say, "Well, I have to go to the fucking Gillette website and buy some fucking razors from them, since they are socially conscious."
I mean,
just like Nike was trying to do with the Dream Crazy commercial.
I don't. I'm so tired of this shit.
The fucking the website goes directly to thebestmencanbe.org, redirects you immediately to the fucking Gillette's main website, where they have one page of a blurb. What do you want to read the blurb?
I want to read some of this.
Yeah.
30 years ago, we launched our "The Best a Man Can Get" tagline. Since then, it's been an aspirational statement reflecting standards that many men strive to achieve. But turn on the news today, and it's easy to believe that men are not at their best. Many find themselves at a crossroads, caught between the past and a new era of masculinity. While it is clear that changes are needed, where and how we can start to effect that change is less obvious for many. And when the changes needed seem so monumental, it can feel daunting to begin. So let's do it together.
Oh my
and that's not
God.
That's not even close to being the worst part. It's time we acknowledge that brands like ours play a role in influencing culture. As a company that encourages men to be their best, we have a responsibility to make sure we are promoting positive, attainable, inclusive, and healthy versions of what it means to be a man. With that in mind, we have spent the last few months taking a hard look at our past and coming communication and reflecting on the types of men and behaviors we want to celebrate. We're inviting all men along this journey with us to strive to be better, to make us better, and to help each other be better. I agree with all that, but I don't agree with who it's coming from or the reasons why it's coming from them. Does that make sense?
A fucking intern for Gillette who created a shitty fucking webpage for them.
Does that make sense, everybody?
Hey, guess what? Guess what, Gillette? You fucking pieces of shit. I stopped using your fucking products years ago, and now I guarantee you this: I'm never gonna fucking even consider using them ever again. Fuck you.
Even if they become cheaper than...
Fuck you.
Even if they become cheaper than the razors that you're using?
Yeah, even if they become cheaper than the razors I'm fucking using, I'm not gonna fucking buy your shit anymore. Fucking tired of this shit. Because there'll always be someone out there, fuck it, I fucking buy razors from Costco. Let's see you fucking beat those prices, you fucking pieces of shit.
What if Costco does this? What if Costco insults men?
Oh, then I guess I'll have to go to BJ's.
And get a BJ?
And get a blowjob.
What if BJ's insults men?
Well, then I guess I'll have to go to Sam's Club. Oh, wait, I can't go there. Oh, I can't go there because, you know, they're linked with Walmart, and Walmart's an evil corporation. Oh, God, I guess I'll just fucking stop breathing. How about that? This goes to, again, to what we were talking about, like, on an episode, segment on an episode, like, I don't know, about like a woman telling me that she wasn't gonna go see a Brad Pitt, a Tom Cruise movie because Tom Cruise was a Scientologist and she doesn't like Scientology. And it's like, well, if you fucking like dig around like the credits of any movie, you could find like the best boy isn't actually the best boy. He's the worst.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Like you like.
Turns out the best boy was the worst boy.
You can't make a stand with this shit. I mean, like. These companies are gonna fucking continue to do this for the fucking remainder of time. But I could tell you what, I haven't fucking used Gillette in years, and it's not gonna happen anytime soon.
Now you sound like the guy who put his razor blade in the toilet. I personally, I don't, as a man, I don't feel insulted by this commercial. What does feel insulted is my intelligence.
I feel
my intelligence is what was insulted.
Not as a man, but rather as a sentient fucking being.
Yeah, that's what got insulted. Yeah.
And that's the case with most commercials, but the ones that fucking preach to you about like, especially about like so-called social justice issues. Oh man, you Dante needs to write a fucking new circle of hell for these people.
I mean, you know, you don't want to support something that you disagree with like I, for example, you know, I won't eat Chick-fil-A. I don't even remember what the fuck specifically
like
fucking
some, like Christian thing.
Yeah, they have some kind of Christian like anti-gay thing that I'm not gonna fucking eat their food. That's fine. I can get fucking shitty fried chicken from anywhere if I want to eat shitty fucking fried chicken. But you know what? I mean, I don't even. Again, it's like, I'm not gonna fucking sit here and say that I'm insulted by their chicken sandwiches. I'm insulted by their fucking existence. I'm just gonna quietly not buy it. You're not gonna see me flushing Chick-fil-A sandwiches down a fucking toilet and putting it on social media. I'm just gonna not eat it.
Well, technically, a lot of people do flush the Chick-fil-A sandwiches down the toilet.
After it comes out as feces?
After it comes out as shit. Exactly. Yeah. And on that note, maybe that's the perfect time to end this fucking podcast.
You know, there's nothing else to say about this, right?
Nah, I think we ran through everything. There were some other issues here and there, but
as part of the bit, they're donating $1 million per year for the next 3 years to nonprofit organizations executing programs in the United States designed to inspire, educate, and help men of all ages achieve their personal best and become role models for the next generation. Hey, pussy, did I tell you about my new nonprofit organization that I'm starting, which is going to execute programs in the United States in order to inspire, educate, and help men of all ages achieve their personal best and become role models for the next generation?
No, Mike, what's it called?
It's called Jabroni Mike's Men's Excellence Charity, and we're currently accepting charitable donations from major corporations that want to promote whatever it is Gillette's trying to fucking do. So Gillette, if you wanna give me a cool million, maybe a couple of 100,000 to help me with my new charity that I just started.
Yeah,
in order to help boys be men or whatever the fuck that drivel was that I just read out loud.
Yeah, Gillette,
I'll take it.
I have a new charity too. It's called fucking like StoppingYeastInfections.com. So fucking make sure you fucking donate $1 million to that. And, you know, we sync up. We sync up socially. You know what? Actually, I love you, Gillette. I love everything you did. Your commercial's the best. Now give me that fucking $1 million.
What does stopping yeast infections have to do with combating toxic masculinity?
Well, yeast infections are toxic, so it's got that going for it. Whatever. The strands are tenuous to begin with, so fucking who the fuck cares?
They did start that, didn't they? They started this. They started this, and we're going to finish it.
And we're going to end it right now.
We're going to end the podcast is what we're going to do. Don't put your razor blade in the toilet. I understand some of you may be annoyed by this, but that's fucking stupid.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Gillette is they're a bunch of manipulative, money grubbing, money hungry.
Who was
who don't give a fuck about the challenges that women face in this country, and they never will.
I will say this.
And they never will, despite what they want you to believe.
I will say this.
What will you say?
You know, I haven't used the fucking Gillette razor in many, many years, like I've been saying, but I'm pretty sure it's not water fucking soluble.
I think we should end this by saying what you and I think it means to be a man, right? Well, what that fucking means. Gillette saying that they want to challenge stereotypes and expectations of what it means to be a man. You know, I think it's simple. I think it's about respect. It's about respecting others, whether they be male or female. It's about I think a big part of it for me is standing up for people who can't stand up for themselves. It's about like protecting people who can't protect themselves. I think is a big part of it.
What are you, Superman?
I think that. Well, I mean, maybe we could all be a Superman in our own way, but everything that I'm saying about what I think it means to be a man, like really honest to God, is things that women are certainly capable of, right?
Well, yeah. What I would say to close out is this is my common thread for this entire episode is be a good person.
Be a good person. That's kind of what I'm fucking saying.
Be a good human being. And if you want to be a good man, to me, what that means is be a good son, be a good brother, be a good father. That's it.
Treat people the way you want to be treated.
Be a good person, and then if you want to be a good man, you be a good son, a good brother, a good father. Done.
Don't be a piece of shit. Don't treat people like shit. Don't be a scumbag. Don't make people feel bad because it's going to fucking inflate your ego. Don't fucking treat women like objects.
A good husband. A good husband. A good boyfriend. Whatever. Just be a human being. Treat fucking decent human being.
Human beings like human beings. It doesn't need to be this complicated is the point I think we're both trying to make here. Anyway. It's almost like it was a completely pointless episode. Wasn't it?
No, it wasn't pointless at all.
It was pointless.
I had a good time, and I'm sure our listeners had a good time, too.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I hope so. All right. Guys.
Strong ending. Strong ending. Oh, God.
I don't know what the fuck I'm doing anymore.
All right, everybody. Have a good day. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. We'll see you next time. We have another episode coming out pretty soon.
Kinda. We'll see.
Later.
Love you guys. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.